In leadership, there are so many opportunities for negotiation. In fact, most conversations you have as a leader are, in essence, a negotiation. You're trying to get someone to see eye to eye with you, or to agree with your decision, or to understand where you're coming from, or for you to understand where they're coming from. That is all, in essence, a negotiation, where your negotiation is, basically any sort of intercourse like that. So going back to, our negotiation, or the conflict that we dealt with in the last lecture, negotiation is where two more people disagree. They're in some sort of conflict and they need to come to an agreement. So we talked about some of the ways that you can make a decision. Negotiation is that process. Is one of the processes of making a decision. Your ability to negotiate is going to affect a lot about your life. To deal with this kind of conflict, it's going to affect your income, your relationships, and your position, your actual job. You use this when buying or selling something, when accepting a job, when getting a raise or asking for a raise, or when dealing with someone who just is really difficult for you to deal with. Those are all situations in which you're going to negotiate, and you'll have probably all of these more than once in your life. You might not know that you should not just accept a job, but that's an opportunity for you to negotiate a better package, maybe something, maybe better pay, maybe they're not paying what you hoped for, or something about it. Getting a raise, that's scary, but it is a huge negotiation that you're asking for. We'll break that down a little bit more. But some tips about negotiation. It's not about taking advantage. It's not supposed to be a win-lose. It is supposed to be a win-win. You're trying to get them to see eye to eye with you, and so that might mean you're going to have to give and take a little bit, and so will they. Try to use this as an opportunity to build relationships, not tear them down. You're building on relationships here, so you might as well use this as an opportunity to further your relationship. Again, it's kind of like using conflict for a positive thing. It's exactly the same thing. Help them get what they want as well as yourself. See if you can make it so that they get what they want as well. See, you figure out some way for that to be the way it is, and usually it's doable. One way to do that is to figure out who they are, what they want, what their company wants, what they're not willing to give up. What kind of person are they? What kind of personality do they have? That's going to change how you approach this situation. Set a lower limit, like what's the lowest I'm willing to take or give. What would you like, and then kind of an opening objective. So if you're going to be selling something, for example, and you want $80 or something, then you should probably open with 100. Your lower limit is 70, but your target's 80. You need to figure that kind of thing out with a raise, for example, accepting a job, anything like that. Alternatives, some creatives. Okay, so fine, you can't give me a raise, but can I get more paid time off? A lot of times it's easier to give for companies to give things than to give money. Money is a precious asset, but maybe they have lots of stuff. Like I know some friends that accept maple syrup as a payment because people just don't have the money to pay them. Try to plan ahead, like what kind of questions you're going to be asked, and be prepared to answer them. Make sure that when you're negotiating, it's not about the person, so they can't make it personal, that it's about the issue. Like, I've been doing a lot of work, and so I feel like I should be getting paid more, instead of, you're not paying me enough for my work. That's more focused on the person, not the issue. You want it to be about the issue. See if you can let the other person be the first to offer. If, for example, you want 80 for something and they offer you 90, then you're great. But if you offer first, then they're going to maybe not give you as much as you hoped in the first place. Listen, use your ears, ask questions. Try to keep the focus on the other person. People like to be heard. If it's all about you, they'll get bored. People like to hear themselves, and they want to tell their story. Don't give in quickly. That doesn't work out well when you give in quickly. It should be a conversation. It should be a process. In class, I have the students talk a student into playing a game when they don't want to play. Someone acting as a student anyway, and you can figure out what the real reason is behind them not wanting to play, and then negotiate them into playing. And you should practice this with some friends, or practice asking for a raise or anything like that, accepting a job, asking for some sort of promotion. Those kinds of things take practice. There's 3 different potential outcomes of a negotiation. One is postponement, where you don't make the decision, but you put it on the shelf and you'll come back to it later. Another one is agreement. You make a decision, or no agreement at all. No agreement's not great, but sometimes that is what it does happen. If you're in a situation where it's just hard to make a decision. If you compare this with the conflict and positive discipline lecture, you really have quite an arsenal for how to work with people, but really it all comes down to practice. So make sure that you take the opportunities to negotiate, to practice that. Negotiate doing dishes with your roommate, or where you're going to eat out with friends. Learn to speak up for yourself, because that is maybe for a lot of people the biggest hurdle they have to deal with.